Okay, let's have an example. So, Glenn is snorkeling in the ocean and notice a coral reef below him. The angle of depression is 25 degrees and the depth of the ocean at the point is 14 feet. The question is, how far away is he from the reef? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is for us to illustrate the problem. We have here Glenn. He is snorkeling in the ocean. So this is Glenn's direction. And he noticed the coral reef below him. So this is the coral reef below him. And it forms an angle of depression that is 25 degrees. And the depth of the ocean, according to the problem, is 14 feet. Now, question is, how far is Glenn from the coral reef? So, if you can see in our illustration, we will form a right triangle. And we have the angle of depression, we're given the depth of the ocean, and we're looking for the distance between Glenn and the coral reef. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is for us to identify the angle inside the right triangle. So the angle here. Okay, so for us to find it, we will use the formula 90 minus 25 degrees. So take note that the angle of depression and the angle inside the right triangle are complementary. They will form a 90-degree angle. So to find the missing angle, we're going to subtract 25 degrees by 90. Then let's subtract. That will give us 65 degrees. So this will be our angle inside the right triangle. So 65 degrees. Now that we have identified the angle, our next step is for us to identify the given. So we're given the adjacent side and we're looking for the opposite side. So now that we have the sides, let's identify which trigo ratio are we going to use using SOHCAHTOA. So since we're given the opposite side and the adjacent side, we're going to use the trigo ratio for tangent. So tangent 65 degrees. Then we know that tangent is equivalent to opposite over adjacent. So let's substitute their value. That will give us tangent 65 degrees is equal to x over 14. Now let's isolate the variable x by multiplying both sides by 14. So canceling that will give us 14 times tangent 65 degrees is equal to x. Let's use our scientific calculator and compute for 14 times tangent 65 degrees, giving us the value of x, which is the distance between Glenn and the reef. And the answer will be 30.02 feet. And that will be our final answer. Ta-da! Alright. So let's have this example. Terra is trying to determine the angle at which to aim her sprinkler nozzle to water the top of a 10-feet bush in her yard. Assuming the water takes a straight path and the sprinkler is on the ground 4 feet from the bush. The question here is, at what angle of inclination should she set it? So first thing that we need to do is for us to illustrate the problem. So we have here the sprinkler, and then she need to water the top of the 10 feet bush in her yard. So we have the bush, okay, which is 10 feet. Then we have the sprinkler that is 4 feet away from the bush. Now the question here is we're looking for the angle of inclination. So the angle of inclination is the angle of elevation from the ground to the top of the bush. So looking at our figure or our illustration, we will form a right triangle. Okay. So here we will use SOHCAHTOA to solve for our missing angle. So let's first identify the location of the angle. So this is what we are looking for, the angle of elevation from the ground to the top of the bush. Then let's identify the given side of this right triangle. So we're given the opposite side and the adjacent side of that triangle. Then let's identify which trigo ratio to use in solving for the missing angle. So since we're given the opposite side and the adjacent side of the angle, we're going to use tangent theta. And we know that tangent is equivalent to opposite over adjacent. Let's substitute their value. That is, tangent theta is equal to 10 over 4. Now, let's remove the trigo ratio for tangent by using the inverse trigonometric ratio of tangent. And that is arctangent. So, we get the arctangent of both sides. We can cancel the trigo ratio and we will have the equation theta is equal to arctangent 10 over 4. Now, let's use our scientific calculator to compute for the missing angle. Arctangent 10 over 4 is equivalent to 68.20 degrees. So, that will be the angle of inclination that Terra should set in order for her to reach the top of a 10 feet bush. And that will be our final answer. Ta-da! Alright. So let's have this example. The distance from a boat to a lighthouse is 100 feet. And the lighthouse is 120 feet tall. So what is the angle of depression from the top of the lighthouse to the boat? So first thing that we need to do is for us to illustrate the problem. So first we have the boat and we have the lighthouse. And according to the problem, the boat and the lighthouse has a distance of 100 feet. And the lighthouse is 120 feet. Now, the question here is, we're looking for the angle of depression. So, angle of depression is looking forward, going down. That's why we're looking for this angle. So, in order for us to solve for the angle of depression, we need to find the angle inside the right triangle. So, let's solve for this angle. Let's name it angle X. So, angle X is inside the right triangle. Let's solve for the value of that angle. So, let's use SOHCAHTOA in solving for the value of the angle. So, first, locate the angle. Then, let's identify the given sides. So, we're given the opposite side and the adjacent side of this right triangle. Then, let's identify which trigo ratio to use in solving for the value of the angle. So, since we're given the opposite side and the adjacent side, we're going to use tangent x. Now, we know that tangent x is equivalent to opposite over adjacent. Now, let's substitute their value. That will be tangent x is equal to 100 over 120. Okay? Let's remove the trigo ratio for tangent by getting the inverse trigonometric ratio for tangent. And that is the arctangent. So we get the arctangent of both sides. So we can cancel the trigo ratio for tangent. So we will have x is equal to arctangent 100 over 120. Now let's use our scientific calculator to solve for the value of x. So, let's get arctangent 100 over 120. So, that will give us the value of the angle x, which is approximately equal to 39.81 degrees. And that will be the value of x. So, we're looking for the angle of depression from the top of the lighthouse to the boat. So, we're going to subtract 90 degrees and the value of x to get the angle of depression. So, the angle of depression is equal to 90 degrees minus 39.81 degrees. So, let's compute for the angle of depression. That will give us the value, which is 50.19 degrees. And the angle of depression from the top of the lighthouse to the boat is equal to 50.19 degrees. And that will be our final answer. Ta-da! Alright. And that is it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have comments, questions, recommendations, suggestions for my next video, please leave them in our comment section below. Share this video and subscribe. And for more videos like this, you can go to my channel, Teacher Justin. And that is it for today. Again, I'm Teacher Justin. Goodbye, God bless, and stay safe. See you on my next video. Peace.